Hola, timid investors. Tara here. This video is the second part of a two-part series on opening foreign bank accounts. Hopefully you saw my first video about opening a UK account, because if you did, you'll notice I made a lot of mistakes. I also relied on my distant memory for that video because I opened up that UK account in 2008. But in this video, the memories are fresh. Plus, I had the help of my husband. I documented everything. I just overall made better decisions this time around because I learned from my mistakes. And I might have made a few new minor mistakes, maybe. So buckle up, timid investors, because this video is packed with information. In it, I discuss foreign mortgages, investment accounts, debit cards, checks, and how to transfer your money using multiple methods. I also provide a list of resources at the end. So, vámonos! Let's get started. To the Spanish banks we go, timid investors. Okay, so before I tell you this story, please remember to like and subscribe. So it's the summer of 2018, and we enter a Santander branch on a street called Calle Juan de Mena in Madrid, Spain. We were on our way home from a meeting with the director of an investment bank that our Spanish friend has set us up with. And we entered the Santander branch on the way home kind of on a whim in an attempt to see if we could open up a checking account. And of course, Santander told us initially no, because we were tourists and we weren't residents. We didn't have NIEs. We didn't have our passports on us. But we explained that we had just come from the investment bank and the director there was happy to open up an account for us, and that we were interested in getting a mortgage to buy Spanish property and possibly investing. We showed Santander the notes from the investment bank, the director's business card, and the pamphlets and brochures that he gave us. And they immediately walked us back to the back of the bank to meet with their colleague. So, a really quick side note on this investment bank. It was a small private Spanish investment bank, and they showed us just the European stock and bond markets, and the return on investment really wasn't that great. It was between 5 and 7%, and a lot of that was eaten up by the bank's exorbitantly high fees, which were between 1.5 and 2%. Plus, the capital gains that we would be taxed on in Europe is higher than the US. We also had to invest at least $30,000 and keep it in the account for 3 to 5 years. So obviously none of this was appealing, and we thought, well, we should go just find a commercial bank and see if we can open an account. So fast forward now to Santander, and we're in the back of this commercial bank asking if we can open up an account, and the woman back there explained the mortgage process to us. She explained that at the time interest rates on mortgages were 1.89%. At rates that low, we really feel like it's basically free money. But as foreigners, we would have to make a 50% down payment on a property. She also showed us how to open up online banking and walked us through that and helped us deposit 200 euros cash in the ATM. And she told us, as soon as you get to your hostel today, scan and email her our passports, which we did, and we had to keep checking to see if she got the emails, which she didn't because they originally went to her junk mail, so we had to keep calling to get that sorted out. So keep in mind, we didn't have our passports with us or our NIEs. The Spanish refer to the NIE as a NIE. So it's kind of like a Spanish social security number. A NIE stands for Número de Identidad de Extranjero, or Foreigner's Identity Number. I'm going to make a whole separate video about how to get your NIE. I also think we were able to open up the account because of our connection with that Spanish friend who set us up with the director of the investment bank. I do think that in Spain, part of the way that you can facilitate transactions is it's kind of about who you know. I also think speaking Spanish helps. We spoke Spanish in the bank very poorly because it was about financial topics and we really struggle with those topics, but we made an effort. And I really think the Spanish appreciated our effort. Also, we were friendly, super friendly. I remember talking to the Santander employee about her interests and her life and travel and my interests and my life and how I was obsessed with Spain and wanted to move here one day. And I remember my husband just kind of flipping up his phone and saying, oh, well, I prefer mobile money, banking on my phone with an app. I don't like to go into the buildings. And I said, no estoy de acuerdo. Prefiero entrar en las empresas y hablar con los empleos y conocer la gente. And the Santander employee agreed with me. And the other good news is that moving money into the Spanish bank account is really easy. In fact, there are several ways to do it. Chris has an app called Uphold on his phone that he experimented with by taking a piece of his cryptocurrency and transferring it into euros, which he then put into the Santander account. And it worked. So the fee for doing so was just a sliver of a margin on top of the exchange rate. So just a fraction of a cent per dollar equivalent. Now, obviously, Chris already had the Uphold account and he already had his US bank account linked to Uphold and Santander linked to Uphold. And he'd already been purchasing cryptocurrency consistently all along. It took about 2 to 3 days to link the bank accounts, but the transfer of cryptocurrency to euros is instant. But getting the euros into the Santander account took 3 to 7 days to process, at least that's the warning. But we were really happy when, by the end of the week, the 500 euros landed in our Santander account. So you might be wondering why we did this. And indeed, it's totally not necessary. You do not need to sell your cryptocurrency. And why would you? And what if you don't have cryptocurrency, right? Obviously, if you have your US account connected to Uphold and you have your foreign account connected to Uphold, then you can just transfer your dollars from your US account into euros in your foreign account without going through the cryptocurrency middle step, right? And indeed, that's exactly the way we've been doing it ever since. And that is what Chris is demonstrating for you right here in this video. Uphold doesn't charge a fee. It just adds a margin on top of the exchange rate. So as you can see here, the charged exchange rate is 1.23468 versus the actual exchange rate of 1.2997, making a difference of 0.00498. So about 1/2 of 1 cent per dollar. So click the description below to learn more about Uphold. I don't use Uphold. I use TransferWise, which is another way of getting money into your foreign bank account, and I'm showing you that way right here. TransferWise initially transferred the dollars from my American bank into my Spanish bank account in 5 seconds, which you can see. TransferWise told me how long it would take the money to arrive, sent me a confirmation email saying the money was already in my Spanish bank account, and I checked Santander immediately afterwards, and indeed, yes, the money was there. So TransferWise is much faster than Uphold. TransferWise charged a $4.50 flat fee though, and this fee goes up depending on how much money you're transferring. Plus, TransferWise tacks on a margin on top of the exchange rate too, but it's so tiny it's effectively zero. The actual exchange rate on this day was 0.814519, but TransferWise exchanged at 0.8148 or 0.0003 more, which is about 3 cents per $100. If you want to open up a TransferWise account, you can use the link in the description below. TransferWise is not a sponsor, by the way. Santander would not send our debit cards to our US address for some reason. They had no problem sending all those scary notices to our US address, but not our debit cards. I was also surprised to learn that a checkbook would not automatically come with our account. Apparently, no one in Spain pays for anything by check nowadays. I was also surprised to learn that if you want things like a debit card with your account, you have to go inside the original branch where you initially opened up the account. That's right, the one on Calle Juan de Mena. I learned this the hard way when I just went into a random Santander branch because it's a multinational company and aren't all the branches the same? But no, this is Spain. They're not all the same. So I entered the random branch and produced my license, which the Spanish employees explained is not a valid form of ID in Spain that's good for anything other than driving. I gave them my passport that worked, so I saved that trip for another day where I learned the hard way that Spanish banks close at 2 p.m. Okay, so the third time was a charm. I showed up at the correct Santander branch before 2 p.m. I had my passport. I printed out my NIE. I showed that I was an account holder with my mobile phone. I had everything. Really were hesitant to give me a debit card because I didn't have my TIE card on me. Now the TIE, or TA, not to be confused with the NIE, is the actual identity card. The NIE is just a number. And I explained that it would be very difficult for me to be in the country for 4 months without a no-cost debit card giving me access to my account, because that's how long it was taking to get TAs. So the ladies sympathized with me and they said that they would check in the back to see if my debit card was there. And lo and behold, it was. They found it. It had been sitting in the back of the bank for 2 years. So they gave it to me and they helped me activate it using the ATM, and they explained that my husband, when he arrived in the country, could come to that branch and get his debit card without a TIE card. So I was really happy with that customer service. Once my husband arrived in the country, I walked him the short ½ kilometer distance to that bank branch so that he could get his debit card. And the bank was closed because it was a holiday. What holiday? Like, it wasn't Christmas Eve, it wasn't Christmas, it wasn't New Year's Eve, it wasn't New Year's, it wasn't Three Kings Day. But this is Spain. There are a lot of holiday hours. And so the saga continues. A really quick side note though, on picking your bank branch to open the account is really important, because that is the branch where you will go to transact a lot of business, including things as simple as just updating a phone number. So you don't want to pick a branch that's way out in the suburbs or not easily accessed by public transit. We just got really lucky that the branch that we initially opened our account in 2 years ago happened to be really close to the apartment that I'm renting right now. And like I said, the monthly maintenance fee increased from 10 to 12 euros, which a lot of people think is really high, but I consider the customer service totally worth it. Remember, we were able to open a bank account initially without our passports, a nomina, a TIE card, a visa, proof of economic activity, etc. We were able to pick up our debit cards without the TIE card. Still, I received this advertisement in my email, which is actually the thumbnail for this video, about a free Santander account for people who are between age 18 and 31. We're too old to qualify for that account, but if you're interested, there's a link in the description below. Santander is not a sponsor. I've also provided a resource sheet below with some other banks in Spain and money moving apps. in the description that you might want to also consider. And remember that you can just keep using your American cards and accounts. Vale. Key takeaways. Don't assume you won't be able to open up a foreign bank account because you're a tourist or a student on a visa that's too short term, especially if you tell the bank that you want to invest or buy property. 2, who you know matters in Spain. 3, chat everyone up, be super friendly. 4, everyone's experience is different. I know people who love HSBC and hate Santander. 5, always bring your passport. Check the bank hours beforehand. Be careful picking a branch to initially open up your account. You might have to transact most of your business in that location. 6, in the age of mobile money, there are tons of ways to transfer money into your account. Research them and pick the cheapest and/or fastest way. Hasta pronto, timid investors.